With 2022 just around the corner, I'm doing my annual review as well as planning out what I'm looking forward to in 2022 and all the goals and projects I have in mind, as well as the systems I'm going to be using to reach those goals. And if you've been paying attention to this channel, you know that in addition to the digital tools like Roam Research, Notion, and Rescue Time, I love the analog tools. And so in today's video, I'm going to share with you the pens, the notebooks, and the other stationery related tools that I'm planning on using over this year, as well as how I'm going to use them to stay focused and be more productive in 2022. First up is what's most dear to me, and that is my everyday carry. It is the pocket notebook and pen that I carry with me every single day when I leave the house. Over the past several years, I've gone through a number of different pocket notebooks, but in 2021, I finally settled on the paper as well as the type of notebook that I like for my everyday carry. And that ended up being a perforated top-bound staple notebook from Rhodia. The paper works great for both fountain pens and roller balls. I found that I really prefer the top-bound for a pocket notebook instead of the usual side-bound. I can just take a quick note with it, and at the end of the day, I can rip it out and throw it in my physical inbox. To go along with that, I'm still carrying around my Spoke Design Axle S, which I made a video about. If you're interested in it, please check out up here. But TLDR, it's 8 months later, I'm still using the same pen for my everyday carry. That means it's a keeper in my book. It is quite clearly my dream pocket fountain pen. However, there are days when I need something that's a little bit less finicky than a fountain pen, such as when I'm sitting in church with a child on my lap. I don't really want to be dealing with a fountain pen and the possible mess it might make, and for that instead I'm carrying a rollerball pen made by Studio Neat called the Mark I. In particular, I am carrying a Cortex branded pen from the Cortex podcast. It has a fantastic Schmidt refill, which is nice and smooth and deep black, and above all else, it is incredibly satisfying to click. I mean, just listen to that. It's fantastic. The only real danger is if I just, get tempted to sit there and click the pen in the middle of church and disturb all of the other people. Maybe I shouldn't carry this one. I'm setting it down. Okay, so next up I have 4 more notebooks with various purposes, and I'll go through those quickly. First up is another Rhodia DotPad. This one is roughly A5 in size and has a top spiral bound. I use this as my general everyday desk pad / carrying around note-taking pad. It's the same great paper as in the smaller version, it's just bigger and allows me to just brain dump everything. Most notes, be they church or meetings, happen in this notebook. And then, like its little sibling, at the end of the day or week, I'll just rip out those relevant pages and throw them in my physical inbox to process into my digital systems at a later date. Which brings us to a very recent addition to my stationery setup, and that is a Plotter A5 notebook. You can tell I like A5 size notebooks. Now, Plotter is a new to the US ring-bound system. Whereas the Rhodia is for general brain dumps, the Plotter is reserved for notes while I read books. This is a notebook that I have in hand every single time I read, and if you want to know more about why I have a notebook in hand every single time I read, check out this video linked up here. But you may be interested in why they happen in this notebook versus the Rhodia. Well, very simply, I'm a bit more attached to the notes that I take from books, and I want to keep them for a later date. The notes in the Rhodia just get ripped out, thrown into a digital system, and the paper gets recycled. Whereas with the Plotter, I can open up the rings and take out a page and put in an archival system, so I can just keep it around. I mean, I put a lot of effort into taking these book notes, and I just want to keep them. Like I said, I'm kind of attached to them. Then comes the Musubi A5 Journal. Yes, yet another A5 notebook. This is a beautiful, very simple notebook that has one purpose, and that is to be my daily journal. Whereas everything else talked about so far is about keeping me sane in a busy world, the Musubi is about keeping me centered. It's a time to decompress and write out my thoughts and the struggles I'm going through and try to work through them through the act of writing. I do this in a physical notebook versus a digital app like Roam Research or Day One for 3 primary reasons. 1, it gives me an opportunity to use the fountain pens that I love so much. 2, it's more calming and relaxing to use those pens versus sitting in front of a computer. And the whole purpose of this is to recenter myself and to work through issues, not get notifications and get more distracted. And finally, this may sound lame to some of you, but I'm looking forward to having a pile of these notebooks that my children or wife can look through years from now. That's a much more enjoyable experience than looking through old notes in Roam Research if it's even still accessible 50 years from now. The final notebook in my 2022 productivity lineup is a Hobonichi Techo. It's a daily planner that I'll be using to write out the top 5 to 10 items that are most important for me to accomplish that day, as well as to time block the days for the days that really need that help. I've been using the UgMonk analog system for the past half year or so, once again, video review up here, and I have been liking it. In some ways, the Techo will be a downgrade. It is much easier to just pull out an index card and slip it in my pocket if I want to go somewhere, versus carrying around another notebook. Likewise, with the Ugmonk analog system, I always have the index card front and center in front of me. So why did I go with the Hobonichi Techo? I got it for one reason, and one reason alone. And that was because I saw a cool Inuyasha cover that they had this year. I mean, it's a cool cover, right? So like I said, it is going to be a little bit more inconvenient, but, you know, like I said at the beginning of this video, I'm using these stationery products because I enjoy them. And every time I look at this cover, it'll make me smile a little bit. Oh, and of course, in addition to the cover, I may have purchased the stamps and Miyoga sticker pointers to go with it, because why not? It's already being shipped. So in addition to these 5 notebooks, there are a bunch of other stationery related products that I am going to be using in 2021. So let's switch over to those. First up are the desk pens. Now the Spoke Axle S is great for a pocket pen, but I want something a little bit bigger and more comfortable to hold for extended writing sessions when I'm at my desk. And so for that purpose, I have an array of fountain pens. The top contenders for this year are probably going to be my Sailor Habanero, my Lamy 2000, and my Mont Blanc 149 until I replace it for a different nib. These pens, plus others, are stored in one of 2 locations. Oh, a recent addition, it slipped my mind that I purchased the Spoke Icon in British Racing Green and Brass, and so that's also going to be a daily contender. So first up is the Dudek Modern Goods Stationer. It is a simple and yet elegant walnut block with spaces for 7 pens in it, as well as a slot in the back to store my Musubi notebook for my daily journaling. And in addition to this, I have the Penwell Craftsman, which is a simple concrete block that sits on my desk that turns any one of these fountain pens into a desk pen. I just take whatever pen I'm planning on using for an extended period of time and place it cap down, and I can just easily pull the pen in and out and use that for extended writing sessions. If I need to take a quick break, the pen will be there waiting for action. Which brings me to the final item in my stationery-related productivity system for 2021, and that is my giant wall calendar. It allows me to have the entire year at a glance right above my computer desk, which helps with both planning and vision. Like last year, I'm going to be continuing to use the Focus Podcast branded calendar from NeuYear, though this year, instead of hanging it vertically, I'm going to be hanging it horizontally. Over the next week or so, I'm going to be planning out my next year and writing down important milestones for major projects on this calendar. The good thing is it has a dry erase surface, which means that if something changes, and it will change, I can just quickly erase something and rewrite it in my fine-tip dry erase markers that I keep on hand. In addition to that, every single day has 4 little bubbles in it for habit tracking. I'm planning on coloring these in different colors to keep track of the 4 most important habits that I'm planning on building and keeping track of in 2022. These are my daily devotions, violin practice, working out, as well as just basic order, victory, and cleanliness, and lack of chaos on a daily basis. Which, believe it or not, I love order and organization, but I do slide into the messy and the chaos far too easily, so I really want to build up that habit over this coming year. The one complaint that I have with this calendar is that in the horizontal orientation, it is separated into 3 columns of 4 months each. I like to plan out my year in quarters, and so that 4-month breakdown doesn't make much sense to me, except for the fact that they are operating on pre-existing sizes for the calendars. I just really wish there was a quarterly planning option. So that's about it. The only remaining questions for me is what I'm going to end up doing with the Ugmonk analog system. I still love it. I like having it on my desk, so I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to use it. If I figure something out, I'll let you guys know. In addition to that, I also have an extra theme system journal from, once again, the Cortex podcast that I used pretty extensively last year. I'm not really sure if it fits into this new system that I'm putting together, but I'm just going to keep my ear open and see if I have any other creative uses to put that to. I'd love to hear from you. Are there any cool stationery products that you are planning on using in 2022 to help yourself stay more productive? If so, please let me know in the comments down below. Until next time, bye. This is a beautiful, simple notebook. Like last year, I'm going to be continuing to use the Focus Podcast branded. Give me a second. Let me actually put pens in it so it looks cooler, more cool, sweeter.